Today we're going to talk about a type of personality that many people will identify with, whether it's because they noticed these traits and behaviors in themselves or because they've seen them in loved ones and don't know how to help them. We're talking about dependent personalities. The word dependency is something that's very trendy, especially when it comes to emotional dependency, but it seems like we always associate it with romantic relationships, when the truth is that having a dependent personality goes much further than that. It's something that can affect your whole life, your way of being, how you relate to others, your professional career, your life decisions, your friendships, your finances, everything. So in this video, we're going to see how to identify a dependent personality. We're going to analyze where this can come from and what consequences and risks it involves, because it's something that can make you very vulnerable to manipulation. We'll also review some psychological guidelines to improve this. But if you're really here because you want to learn psychology, because you want to understand yourself and others better, you want to know how to analyze people, get practical psychology tools to improve your life and your relationships, you want to feel more confident, you want to choose better who comes into your life, I want to let you know that we've opened enrollment for Mind Academy, my online psychology academy. They've been closed since around May because we've made a lot of changes and improvements. And while the students are really happy and they tell us that the academy completely exceeds their expectations, it's going to be 4 years now. 4 years of the academy with more than 5,000 students who have come through here. And well, we are very happy and very proud of what we do. I'll put the link in the comments and description for you to check out. Trust me, it's gold. Hope to see you inside as a mind hunter. Now let's get to the video. Sometimes things are better understood through examples than with theoretical descriptions. So, I'm going to mention some phrases, some thoughts that are common in this type of personality. Let's see how many you identify with. When something bothers me or hurts me, I usually keep it to myself, stay quiet, and even try to forget it or pretend nothing is happening. To feel calm and safe, I need everyone to be happy with me and agree with what I do and say. When I feel bad, I think I might be overreacting or that something is wrong with me. It's hard for me to trust my own judgment, to figure out for myself what I should do, what's right and what's not. I prefer that others make decisions for me, that they tell me what I should do and what's best for me. I'm really afraid of making mistakes, of something going wrong. So many times I don't even try. I need someone else to guide me, to be with me, and to tell me how to do things. Making decisions on my own really scares me, and I avoid doing it. If I have an opinion and someone close to me tells me that my opinion is wrong, I probably drop it. I change it. I always adapt to what others want to do. My usual response is, I don't know, I don't care, whatever you want. And my reaction when someone hurts me is to say, it's okay, it's nothing. I often have fearful, anxious thoughts like, did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? I'm sure I messed up and they're upset. Do I need people to tell me I did a good job? And if they don't, I feel like I probably did it wrong? Do I know this person hurts me or isn't good for me, but I don't want to lose them? Am I really afraid of being alone? Do I prefer this thing that doesn't make me happy, over feeling like I have no one? Is it that I don't want problems? Is it that I don't like conflicts? Do I not know what I want in life? Do I not know what I like? And many times, I don't know who I am. Well, everything you just heard represents how dependent personalities work. The more statements you identified with, the more likely it is that dependency is a predominant trait in your personality. Remember that all of us, within our personality makeup, have traits of all types. We all have moments of insecurity, moments of sadness, moments when we don't want to interact with anyone. At some point, we've all wanted to feel approved of or admired. At times, we all feel amazing and have a lot of motivation. The question is how predominant those traits are in you, so that then we can talk about tendencies, labels, or, in a more extreme case, personality disorders. In this case, we would be talking about dependent personality disorder, but it doesn't have to become a disorder for dependence to cause us suffering. Among many of the people who come to therapy or who consume psychology content, we can see that even if there isn't a disorder, there is an important need to work on these traits. And believe me, when you work on them, the improvement is huge. So let's define what we mean by a dependent personality. It's someone who doubts themselves a lot, who doesn't trust their own judgment, who idealizes other people and exaggerates their importance, thinking that their opinions, their needs, their judgment are more valid, more real, more important. She avoids conflict at all costs and always acts out of a need for approval. She isn't able to make decisions or do things on her own. She always adapts to what others say, to what others want, to the point where she doesn't even know what she really wants, desires, or needs. She is very afraid of being alone, and that's why she tends to lose herself in her relationships, denying herself. Well, maybe now you're asking yourself, where does this way of being come from? Why am I like this? Why? We know that personality, our way of perceiving the world, processing information, thinking, feeling, and acting, begins to form in childhood, especially in the early years of life. Of course, all that learning and those impacts we experience during adolescence and adulthood also shape us a lot. But to help you really understand the difference in these impacts, I'm going to explain personality as if it were a house. On one hand, we have the material we're going to use to build, the material we're going to shape, which in psychology would be temperament, our genetic makeup. You can build two identical houses, one with wood and one with brick, and even if they look the same and have the same shape, they're different because they're made from different materials from the start. Then we have those foundations, those bases, what we build first, and that will impact how everything else comes together. With this, we're referring to those first years of life, to childhood. On top of the foundations, we're going to build walls, doors, floors, we're going to paint, we're going to add furniture. And all of that can be done well or poorly. It can be built straight or crooked, but no matter how well or poorly it's built, the way those foundations were laid is going to have a big impact on all of this. What do I mean by this metaphor? What happens to you in adult life is very important, it shapes you, but what was built first has a bigger impact and is harder to change. It can be changed and improved a lot, but we're talking about the potential impact and also about the difficulty and the work needed to make it more flexible. And when we're talking about dependent personalities, we can find some common elements in those foundations. I'm going to share with you the three most common ones. First of all, growing up feeling that receiving affection depended on how good you were. It wasn't unconditional love. You had to please, comply, and not be a bother. Stop crying, stop complaining. Look at your sister. She's good, unlike you. With her, we feel comfortable. If you keep bothering and crying, I won't pay attention to you. That's better. You're finally behaving. See? Being good isn't so hard. That relational model then consists of being whatever the other person expects from me. Depending on what the other person shows, says, wants, desires, or does, I will shape myself one way or another. Like water that is poured into each vase, adapting a different shape to fit in. Therefore, my needs, my goals, my desires are not important. In fact, they don't even exist. I suppress them so I can mold myself to what the other person wants. I learned to forget about myself. Something that, as you can imagine, has a very strong impact on identity, autonomy, self-esteem, and the expression of emotions. You learn that being yourself, showing your emotions, saying no, or asking for something is something that will be punished. And just at the mere thought that you are going to express disagreement, say no, or set a boundary, that anxiety, that distress, that terror already kicks in because you're already anticipating that those kinds of behaviors will be punished. The second factor that is often behind these dependent personalities is that autonomy, independence, self-fulfillment, and individuation were not encouraged. And not only was it not encouraged, but it was even punished. That child was not encouraged to take risks, to make decisions, or to learn things in order to gain more independence and self-confidence. Sometimes this can be due to overprotection because of that very understandable fear that something bad might happen to your child. Sometimes it can be because you want to keep control over him so that he depends on you so much that he isn't self-sufficient and always needs you and never leaves your side. Careful, because there are many parents who, sometimes without realizing it, try to keep their children from becoming independent so they can always have them close. I discuss this in my book, It's Manipulation and You Don't Know It, specifically in the chapter on family mental traps. Whatever the reason, this not only creates dependent individuals who feel incapable of doing anything on their own, but it also creates individuals with very low self-esteem. And move, I'll do it because you don't know how, you don't do it right. No, you're not going to school alone because you'll definitely get lost. Study away from home? No, choose another major, one you can study at home. What would you do without me? Honestly, you're a mess. You'll see what happens when I'm not around. The third factor we usually find behind these personalities is those very demanding families, but above all, the ones that criticize, that punish mistakes, errors, flaws, imperfections. Those families already have a vision, an idea of how their child should be, how they should act, how they should think, so that boy or girl isn't allowed the chance to discover themselves. They're not allowed to develop as individuals. They're not allowed to form their own identity, their own tastes, their own judgment, their own ideas. This is what's right. Don't ask questions. Don't think differently. Don't go against us. Obey your parents. No questions asked. See how badly that turned out for you. See, you shouldn't have taken that risk. Follow the safe path and listen to your parents. That family environment that punishes the child for stepping out of line, and every time they make a mistake or something goes wrong or they suffer because of it, there's that accusing finger pointing out that independence brings danger. In this way, when the child grows up and sooner or later steps out from under mom and dad's umbrella, they don't have their own compass to guide themselves. They don't know how to take care of themselves or lead themselves. This, for example, is often seen very clearly in therapy sessions with patients who want and expect you to tell them what they have to do. And precisely what the psychologist has to do is not fall into that trap of reinforcing dependence. What we have to do is guide the person so they realize that they are an adult, that they have judgment and the ability to lead themselves. It can't be that they go from wanting their parents to lead them to wanting the psychologist to lead them. But anyway, we've already mentioned 3 very common reasons behind these profiles. Now let's see how far the risks and dangers of not improving this can go. Welcome. The first risk, and one that will probably resonate with you, is that the fear of conflict robs you of your life. Relationships, life, and decision-making inherently involve misunderstandings, incompatibilities, and different perspectives. So it's completely inevitable that there will be some degree of conflict in our lives. It's virtually impossible to agree on absolutely everything with absolutely everyone. And living while constantly trying to avoid that only leads you to erase yourself. Every time you want to grow, move forward, learn or discover, you're going to run into these obstacles, these incompatibilities, these conflicts. And if your behavior is determined by avoiding conflict, what's going to happen is that you'll keep diminishing yourself more and more just to avoid them. The result is low self-esteem, a life that isn't really yours, a total lack of judgment, identity, and boundaries. And of course, you're not free. Because if your peace of mind depends on nobody getting mad at you, you're not free. That brings us to the second major risk, which, as you know, is my area of expertise. Manipulation. The truth is, a dependent person has many of the characteristics that make them the perfect victim of a manipulator. That fear of abandonment, that inability to set boundaries, that need for approval, that tendency to idealize the other person and think they're always right. Not knowing how to say no, not even knowing what they want. Always giving in to avoid problems. If someone is watching this video and identifies with this, I'm sure that on several occasions they've seen how someone deceived them, manipulated them, or took advantage of them. And the thing is, if you don't know who you are and what you want, you'll accept someone else telling you what you should want and how you should be. When you don't have confidence, security, and clarity in what you do, you look for a father figure in the symbolic sense to guide you, staying in a kind of passive, childlike attitude your whole life. That's why another very common risk is that the dependent person can get trapped forever in relationships, in jobs, in situations, in a life that doesn't make her happy and that even hurts her. Putting up with things you shouldn't, always justifying the other person's behavior, settling for crumbs, denying the bad things they do to you. The fear of being alone is behind all of this. And it's normal because as a species, humans are wired to think that being alone means danger. We're programmed to fear it and to avoid it. But of course, the truth is that in many cases, being alone is actually much less dangerous than what we do and the place we put ourselves in to avoid it. And certainly, many times in therapy, we have a patient who isn't able to end a relationship because they're afraid of being alone. But if we look into how they feel and dig deeper, they come face to face with a painful reality. You're afraid of being alone, and that's why you don't leave. But that's exactly where you're feeling deeply alone. And the last risk I want to mention, which I think we're often not aware of because we tend to focus more on relationships, on our partner, and so on, when we talk about dependency, is the risk of getting stuck. You see, in order to grow, to develop, to heal, to squeeze the most out of life, it's necessary to learn how to face uncertainty, discomfort, mistakes, and failures. Learning to make decisions, to tolerate when something goes wrong, to accept criticism and rejection. And a personality that's built around avoiding all of this simply won't be able to move forward. Because you don't put yourself out there, you don't experience, you don't allow yourself to learn, you don't allow yourself to grow. And this is ultimately at the core of many people who feel insecure, inhibited, lost, small. The sooner in life you learn to take risks, to take on responsibilities, to manage the mistakes you make, the more capacity for growth and self-esteem you will be able to build. Always remember that what you avoid gains power over you and limits you. And the end result is that dependent personalities often end up in relationships, jobs, situations, and lives that don't make them happy. Just to avoid that discomfort, that uncertainty, that conflict. So as you can see, these dependent tendencies are no joke. They can make you feel like you haven't truly lived. And it can even lead to major problems like depression, anxiety disorders, or abusive relationships. So let's see what we can do to work on it. We're going to work on 4 fundamental pillars. First of all, we need to ask those around us not to reinforce our dependence. Because many times this problem gets worse because those around us reinforce it. Thinking that they're helping us, taking care of us, and acting for our own good, what they're often doing is encouraging that tendency to want others to make decisions for us or to tell us what's right. And I can't come and ask for your opinion. Also, obviously, people with dependent personalities are especially easy and pleasant to have around. Someone who always goes along, who thinks everything is fine, who never says no, for some people can seem like a great deal. And without realizing it, they might be contributing to you getting worse. So, something key is that your loved ones motivate you and even push and force you to start making decisions, to express your opinion, to say what you need. That they don't let you just let things go or stay quiet. I have friends that sometimes I have to scold and jolt into action. Second pillar, start exposing ourselves little by little to that uncertainty, to that fear, to that so-called failure, and of course to conflicts. Dependence, as you already know, is fueled by avoidance. You avoid saying what you think, you avoid being alone, you avoid someone else getting angry, you avoid feeling bad, you avoid connecting with negative emotions, and you avoid expressing them. And by avoiding, you make yourself smaller and smaller. So changing all of this starts by stopping avoidance and starting to face things. But you don't have to do big things, it can be done little by little. Start by saying, today doesn't work for me, expressing, that hurt me, saying, I prefer another plan, or simply saying no. You can start by signing up alone for an activity that excites you. You can begin that small project you've been wanting to do for a while. Yes, at first it will be uncomfortable, you'll feel anxious, scared, a knot in your stomach. That's why it's best to do it little by little. You can organize a list of goals in order of difficulty, and as you start feeling comfortable and motivated with the easy ones, you can then raise the stakes. I really recommend that you watch this video I made a while ago about how to boost self-esteem, willpower, and discipline. I think it will help you a lot in this regard. I'll leave it for you at the end of this one. The third pillar that I find super interesting is to reconnect with, reactivate, and express that anger. Great. Yes, to get angry. To regain your ability to get angry. People with dependent personalities have learned not to get angry. They have learned that getting angry puts the relationship at risk, so anger is repressed, covered up, swallowed, to the point where we can see that they stop experiencing it. This can also often be observed in therapy. Someone is telling you something that should make them angry and fill them with rage, but instead they tell it sadly, with their head down.
Shut down. I feel a lot of anger. A lot. So much. I don't deserve this.
Or she simply says she's too tired to talk about it or isn't in the mood. We notice she can't connect with a natural, healthy anger that should be present. People who, when they should feel anger, sometimes have a headache, tiredness, fatigue, sadness, because their ability to get angry is deactivated. And this is truly something extremely dangerous, even though anger is often viewed negatively in society, but it's a basic emotion. And it's there for our survival. It tells us when someone is crossing our boundaries, when someone threatens something that matters to us. And anger is wonderful because it pushes us to defend ourselves, it activates us to take action. It's an emotion that empowers and makes us independent. It helps us become our own person, something that dependent people need. Anger is also like that energy that defines your space. And without access to it, there is no identity, no judgment, no autonomy. Honestly, I can tell you that working personally on my ability to get angry has been one of the best things I've done in my process. The same goes for my patients and my students. And of course, another fundamental pillar is working on building a sense of self. Doing powerful introspective work, understanding yourself, getting to know yourself, to try to reconnect with your emotions, with your desires, to get to know yourself again with the same excitement and drive that you might have when you're getting to know someone new. You want to know everything about that person. You want to understand it all. Well, do that, but with yourself. Many times this can be uncomfortable because our default answer is, I don't know. Hey, how convenient. I need you to tell me. But believe me, it's enough to just listen closely and pay a little attention. Little by little, the information will start to come to us. It's like when you're trying to tune into a radio station. At first, you only hear static and strange noises, but then you catch something. If you keep searching, you'll find it. And without a doubt, a wonderful place to understand yourself better, to get to know yourself, to find out what you really want, and to make better decisions from a place of clarity, awareness, and freedom. That's Mindhunt Academy, my online psychology academy. In fact, a few months ago, I taught a class there where I went deeper into this whole topic of dependent personalities, on how to work on them and how to help someone in this situation. If you really want to learn psychology with specialized and experienced professionals in each area of psychology, get your psychology training certified so that other companies will take it into account when reviewing your resume and considering you for a job. And if you want to experience all this together with a community of people who share your same interests, concerns, and passion for psychology, try Mindhunt Academy because you're going to love it. You can sign up, and if after 7 days you don't like it or it's not what you expected, we'll give you your money back, because we are completely confident and proud of what we do. I'll put the link in the description and comments. See you in the next video. Bye.